Okay. All right. Well, we're going to talk about Google Drive, how to use Google Drive, and I just checked with everybody and asked them if they all had Google accounts, and we all do. Getting started with Google Drive is as easy as going to drive.google.com, and all your, or at least things that'll be available to you, will be shown there. If you've used it before, then you know what that is, and maybe you just haven't jumped in. I know for personal experience that Case Western Reserve doesn't, when they order new computers, they don't put Microsoft Office on any machines anymore. So when they order like 400 machines for this side of the street over at Case, they don't put off. They also, you know, it used to be automatic that you would just put Microsoft Office on everything because everybody knew how to use Excel spreadsheets and PowerPoint presentations and of course Word docs. So they had to get everybody used to it. And so what they did was they just jumped right in and made people start using it. And after a short period of time, everybody got comfortable with it. And I know we've talked about this when we were still meeting in person, and I did a couple of presentations on using a Google Drive, because it makes your first of all, it makes all your files already backed up. When you generate a file, or if you upload a file and convert it, it's now in the cloud with the rest of the hard drive space that everybody in the world uses. It's an amazing amount of space that they have. I think it's somewhere underground, somewhere in west of United States. But in any case, so that's really a good way to start. Let's see, I think what I'll do is I'm going to share the screen and show my Google Drive and show how I use it. Let's see, where is that? Okay.
Now, Tom, correct me if I'm wrong, but Google Drive is just one of several things that Google offers with there, as far as like the Gmail and all of the other things, or is Google Drive kind of the encompassing?
Yeah, well, that's an interesting question. If you go to your, when you're getting your email, or you go to your browser and you look in the upper right-hand corner, and you'll see that those 9 little buttons up there.
Right.
If you click on that, one of the things in there is Google Drive.
Right.
So, and Google Drive includes different formats of data files that you'll create. You'll also see that there's a Google search in there, which we've all used every day, like 50 million times a day. There's Google Play, Google Meet, Google Calendar. Contacts are going to be in there if you saved them. There's Google Translate, Google Photos, Shopping, and then down, if you keep scrolling, after you click on those 9 dots, you'll see there's a million things that Google wants to do for you. And of course, like you say, one of them is Google Drive.
I use Google Maps a lot because I can take a look at houses without going there and count the number of windows at the house.
Sure.
There's only one problem. They don't show the back of the houses.
Okay, so I can go ahead and, if we get this out, I'll click on this. Click this. And there's what my Google Drive looks like. And if we scroll, you'll see that I've stored images and Here's my drive. You see on the upper left-hand corner. And because we all have Google accounts, you're all going to have this exact same thing. If you have never used it, then this large area on the right is going to be pretty blank. But you'll see that some of the things, some of the movies we've made, the network breakfast is located in the middle here. Well, we have I did a PowerPoint that was about the Bitcoin. I have the Windows 10 demo that we did. There's some fun things. There's a Superman logo that I stored here. And no matter where I am, here's a party I sang for in about 1993 or 94. And that the young fellow here sent me the image of being at their party. That's his father. There's me in the back yelling my head off. And so anyway, this is what it'll look like. I had in the past week, I created these bank statements for a company's tax accountant. He needed these bank statements. So I scanned them. And because I did it in my account, it's going to be up in my cloud area. So this is my Google Drive area. And if you went, for example, you'll also see that mine is 71% full because I got quite a few large graphics, large images and movies and things. So I have, let's see, I've used 10.8 of the 15. Now I'm still in the free area. You get 15 gigabytes free of storage in the cloud with Google Drive. Now, if you see up here on the upper left, you'll see where it says new. And this comes into where Scott was asking about. If you click on new, it's going to give me an opportunity to create a folder or upload a file from this particular computer. A file upload, folder upload, or we can generate new, for example, a Google Doc, which is like a Word document, a Google Sheet, which of course is like an Excel document. And I've understand that we've talked about this before, that it's not quite as robust as the true Microsoft Excel, but it does get, let's say, 70% of the job done. And for most of us, that's going to be more than enough. And
Mike,
the other one,
Tom,
yeah.
What about the Google Docs? What percentage of robustness is that compared to Word?
Well, if you're, it may not be as easy if you're getting sophisticated, like doing a mail merge. It would be a little bit tricky to do a mail merge. Not
Okay.
impossible, but it would require you to become proficient. But to type a letter, to format the letter, what you're used to, it reminds me a lot of using what's called rich text format. If you've ever done a rich text format in Word, it's not quite what the actual DOCX can do, but it's more than enough for 90% of what we type. And if you go to a Google Doc and you click on, let me just click on it and you'll see. Okay. There it is. And you'll see it generates what looks like for all the world a sort of a version of Word. And you could do all the same sort of things you can here. You can format the text. You rename the document. You can highlight. You could type very easily. And the difference in doing it here is that every keystroke you make, it saves. So that if you're typing along here and you get 3/4 of the way through of a letter that's like the best letter you ever wrote, and your machine shuts down, all of that data will still be there when you reboot or go to another computer and log in. All that data will be there. Now, if you're using a local version of Microsoft Word, you're not going to have that. You may have, you could set for example, a local version of Word, you could set how often it saves. You can auto save like every 30 seconds, every minute, every 5 minutes, when it's idle, things like that. But if you really want to make sure that you have everything you've done and those little gems that you've typed up, this is really the way to go, especially if you already have the Google account. You could do it right here. And from here, you can also send it to somebody and give them one of 3 ways to look at this document. If you type up a document for somebody or for yourself and you want somebody else's opinion, but you don't want them to edit it and you don't want them to comment on it, you just want to look at it. That's one of the choices you could make. And those are the 3 things. You can view, you can comment on the letter or the document, and or you can edit it as if you were the originator. And if you're the originator of the document, your original document will always be maintained, and they can go ahead and update on their end, which will update yours, but your other versions will always be there. That's another advantage of using Google Drive to create a document.
And one of the things I think I understand is that if someone has your document and they make edits to it, you can see what edits they're making, or if they make changes.
Yes. If you're the originator of the document, you can allow one or more people to edit it, but that doesn't preclude the fact that you still have your original if you don't like what they've edited. Or if the edit has something to do with them only, and you want to share your document with someone else who will also edit it in a different way.
Let's say you've got a bunch of stuff in Excel, in Microsoft.
Yes.
Files and stuff like that. Can you transfer them to
Yes.
Google Docs?
If you remember, if we go back, I'll show you where we are here. Okay. You'll see that. Okay. Now you see here on the My Drive,
Yep.
see where it says I can create a new folder, or if, for example, you have a folder on your machine that you've been storing your documents, your letters, your spreadsheets, you can actually click on this and it will give you the shell, like a little allow to view the files on your computer, and you can highlight the folder you want to upload, and you can upload that folder into your Google Docs, and it will convert them all to Google Drive format.
Okay.
Which it's not a hindrance. You can always resave it as a PDF or as a docx, and you could upload all your stuff to Google Drive, and it does several things. One, it makes it so that you can download onto your phone the Google Drive app and get all your documents that you've uploaded will now be viewable and editable and shareable on your phone, because now it's part of the Google Drive, your Google Drive. Yeah. So we got a pretty good head start here. I have a video I'd like us to look at that will dive into some of the things we've talked about, and you could save your question. This is only about 10 minutes. So let's, I'm still sharing my screen. Where is it? You guys see that picture? No?
We're still looking at your Google Drive.
Okay. Then I'm going to stop the share. Oh, good morning, Ari.
Good morning.
I just stopped sharing so I could see that you're here. That's
Yeah.
great. Thank you so much. Okay, I'm going to share the screen with this, and this is about 10 minutes, and it'll go some of what we just done, but it'll help send home the idea that you're only a few minutes away from using Google Drive to its maximum effect. All right, here.
Hi everyone, Kevin here. Today, I want to show you how you can both get and also use Google Drive. First off, what is Google Drive and why would you ever want to use it? Google Drive is a cloud storage provider.
I don't hear audio.
There's
Yeah,
no audio.
Tom, when you share a video, there were some check boxes you have to check in the screen sharing options. When you go to share a screen, there are two boxes at the bottom that are optimizing it for sharing video. Now we don't hear you, Tom.
I forgot that that was available, and I'll start it over.
Thank you.
Hi everyone, Kevin here. Today I want to show you how you can both get and also use Google Drive. First off, what is Google Drive and why would you ever want to use it? Google Drive is a cloud storage provider. If you've ever used Apple's iCloud or Microsoft's OneDrive, this is Google's version of it. But still, what does it mean to be a cloud storage provider? Well, typically when you work on, let's say, a document on your computer, you'll save it on your computer, so you have a local copy. With Google Drive, you can save it on Drive, and that's basically Google's computer, so you're saving it elsewhere. Now, Google doesn't call their computers computers, they're called servers, and they keep them in data centers all over the world. But you might be wondering, why would I ever want to do that? What are the benefits? Well, there are many benefits to storing files in Google Drive. First off, your files are backed up. So let's say something were to happen to your computer at home. Well, when you store it in Drive, there are many copies on many different servers all over the world. Another benefit, you can access your files wherever you are. Let's say you're traveling, maybe you're in Europe, maybe you're in Africa, wherever you happen to be, if you could get onto the internet, you can get to your files. Also, another benefit is Google's really good at search. That's what they're known for. Now, with Google Drive, you can search for anything. It could be text within a photo. It could be just a description of a photo you took. It could be for specific files. Their search will get that file extremely fast. Lastly, and one of the biggest benefits of working on files that you have stored in the cloud is that you can work with others on that file. In the past, if you wanted to work with others, you'd have to email to them, then they'd email it back, and then you'd probably get different versions. With Google Drive, you simply share a link, and then you can all work on the same file together. So there are lots of benefits to working in the cloud. Why don't we jump on the PC now and see how we can start taking advantage of Google Drive. You can access Google Drive across all of your different devices. You can get it on the web, on your PC, and on mobile, and I'll briefly show you how you can get it across all of these different devices. By far, one of the most popular ways to access Google Drive is on the web. To access Drive on the web, you can simply type in drive.google.com, and that will drop you directly in Google Drive. Alternatively, when you're on any Google product on the web, up in the top right-hand corner, you have what's called the waffle menu. See, it kind of looks like a waffle. When you click on that, this shows you all of your different Google apps. There's one over here called Drive. It kind of has a triangle icon. You can simply click on that. If you want quicker access in the future, you could also click on the icon and drag it to a more prominent position. There, now it's even easier to get back to Google Drive. You can also install Google Drive on your PC. The benefit of this is you can access all of your Google Drive files from a folder on your PC. You can also set up your PC to synchronize files and folders with Google Drive automatically. To get the backup and sync tool, simply go up to the top right-hand corner and click on the settings gear. Within the settings gear, click on Get Drive for Desktop. On the next page, scroll down and you'll see a download option for the backup and sync tool. Later on in this tutorial, we'll walk through how backup and sync works. Lastly, you can also get Google Drive on your phone. If you use an iPhone, head to the App Store. If you're on an Android phone, head to the Play Store. Within the App Store, I'll click on Search, and within the search field, simply search for Google Drive. Once you finish searching for Google Drive, here you'll see a result for Google Drive. If you don't have it yet, you could click on Install. In my case, I already have it, so I'll simply click on Open. Here we are now in Google Drive on the web, and this is likely the interface that you will end up using most often. And by the way, congratulations, you now have your very own cloud storage account. In the introduction, it might have sounded a little bit intimidating, but it's actually really easy to set up. Now within Google Drive, likely the first thing that you'll want to do is to put one of your files into the cloud so you can start taking advantage of all of those benefits that I called out. And by far the easiest way to get a file into the cloud is to simply select a file from your computer, and then you could simply drag and drop it into Google Drive. Here I have a Word document and I'll let go of it, and here you see it uploads now into the cloud. Along with uploading individual files, maybe you have an entire folder that you'd like to put into Google Drive. Well, you can upload it the exact same way. Here I have a folder from my PC, and once again I'll simply drag and drop it onto Google Drive, and here it'll upload the entire folder into Drive. Getting content in is very easy. Up in the top left-hand corner, I also have this big and prominent New button. When I click on this, here too, I can upload an individual file, and I could also upload a folder. So just another way to get content up. I don't just have to start working from existing content on my PC. Down below, I could also start new blank documents, sheets, slides, and there are many other types of Google content that I could start creating. Now, let's say I don't want to create a blank document. I could also hover over this arrow and I could start from a template. Up on top of this menu, there's the option to create a new folder. Just like any other file manager, you can use folders to organize all of your content. I'm going to go ahead and create a folder. This opens up a prompt to name my folder. I'm going to call this Financials. Once I'm all done, I'll click on Create. Here now, I see my new folder. To organize content, just like any other file manager, I can click on one of my files and press and hold, and I can drop it in folders to start organizing content. Along with the new menu, I can also simply access it by right-clicking. When I right-click, this opens up the same exact menu. So once again, Google makes it extremely easy to get your content into Google Drive. I now have many of my different files showing up within Google Drive. The benefit is these files are now backed up and I can access these from anywhere. One of the other massive benefits of Google Drive is I can very easily get back to any of my files. And the first way to do that is using the search field up here. When I search, I could search for content within files. And it's not just limited to documents. I could search within PDFs and also within images. Here, for example, I have a PDF with the text FY21Q1. When I search, here I see both a document and a PDF, so it could search within PDFs. Back on the search results, let's say that I wasn't able to find what I'm looking for. Over on the right-hand side of the search field, I can expose additional search options, and here I could set different filters to help me find the file that I'm looking for. Search is all well and good, but sometimes you don't know exactly what you're looking for, and that's where Quick Access comes in. This surfaces all of the documents and all of the content that's most relevant to you. So let's say that maybe someone just shared a document with you, or maybe you open a document a lot. Google looks at all of these different signals of how you interact with your documents, and then it recommends the most relevant documents to you. And here I see this PDF file. I just opened it and I probably want to go back to it. Here I see it's in the first position of Quick Access. So once again, these are benefits with search. quick access that you wouldn't get with just documents on your PC. Down below, I see the core of the Google Drive experience. Here I see all of my different files and I see all of my different folders. And just like we looked at before, I could organize, drag and drop the files wherever I want to organize this view how I want it. Along with being able to organize the files, I can also adjust this view to help me find what I'm looking for. Here, for instance, right now it's organized by the name. I can also organize it by last modified if I'd rather see it in a different sort order. I could also change the way all of these files are visualized. Up in the top right hand corner, I can toggle between the list view, which I currently have, and the grid view, which is a more visual way of getting back to your files. Within Drive, if I select one of my files, I'll see additional controls appear across the top. Let's briefly walk through what you can do with these. The first one is Get Link. This allows you to generate a link that you can then share with others so they can also access the file. Down below, you can set permissions on the file. Right next to that, there's also another way you could share a file, and you can share with specific individuals. Now, you could toggle back and forth between getting a link and then also sharing with people or groups. Here too, when you click on the settings gear, you could set your permissions on the file when you share it. Once I share a file with someone, here I'll see the shared icon appear next to the title, indicating that this file has been shared. Back on top and next to the sharing icons, I also have the option to preview a file. Not only can I preview a file, but I have some additional controls. I can comment on a file, I could print it, or I could download the file back to my PC. Moving along, I can also remove a file if I want to delete it, and then I have a context menu with additional actions that I can take on a file. The last icon up here is the details icon. When I click on there, I could see all the details related to the file, and most importantly, I could see all of the activity. Right now, I just uploaded this file, but once I start sharing it and working with others, additional activity will show up in here. Once again, Google Drive provides many different ways to get to the most popular actions. Here, when I have the file selected, I can go up here, but I could also simply right-click on the file, and this will show a menu with additional actions. Now, some of the more interesting ones in this list, I can add it to starred, and when I add it to starred, it'll show up within the starred category. In a moment, we'll take a look at how that works, and for now, I'll simply star the file. Back within the menu, I can also manage versions. Let's say that I'm working with others on, let's say, a document or a presentation. I can go back to previous versions if, let's say, some changes happen that I didn't want. Just like with files, I can also select a folder and then right-click on the folder, and that'll expose a similar context menu. Here too, I could star folders, and interestingly, I could also change the color to help me find this folder more easily. For folders as well, I can even go ahead and share an entire folder. So let's say I'm working with a team and we all want to share files with one another. I can set up a folder and then I could share the folder with others, and we could all drop our files there. Now that we've looked at some of the core file management capabilities, let's shift our attention over on the left-hand side where we have these different views. By default, I'm in the My Drive view, and the My Drive view shows me all of my content. So here I see my main root folder, or the main My Drive view, and underneath that I see all of the subfolders that I have. Now down below I have an option called Computers. This will only show up if you set up the Get Drive for Desktop app. Otherwise you won't have the Computers option. This allows you to see any of the files that you've synced onto Drive from your computer. The next option is Shared with Me, and just like the name implies, I can see any folders or any files that others have shared with me on this list. Now, one of the nice things is you might have files in here that have been shared with you, but you want to be able to see that file within your My Drive view. What's nice here is I can simply right-click on an option, and within here I can add a shortcut to Drive. This opens up a prompt, and I could define where I want the shortcut to show up. I'll add it to My Drive and then click on Add Shortcut. When I go back to the My Drive view, here I see the shortcut to this shared folder. So in a sense, it's almost like having my own folder. This is especially helpful if, let's say, you're working on a group project and all of you are contributing to one folder. You can have everyone add a shortcut to that folder within their My Drive view. That way it's extremely easy to access. Under Shared with Me, there's the Recent view, and this shows me all of the recent files that I've interacted with. So whether it's because I opened a file, maybe I uploaded a file, or maybe I modified a file, anytime I interact with a file, it'll show up on this recent list. Now you'd be surprised, but typically when you're working on files, you'll go back again and again to the files that you've worked on recently. This is an extremely valuable view. Next, we have the starred view, and any file or folder that I star shows up here. So this is in a sense like pinning a document. If it's say a document or a file that you go back to often, you could star it. That way you have easy access to it. The last view I have here is my trash, and when I click on this, I can see all of my different folders and files that I've recently deleted, and after 30 days they'll be automatically deleted, but here too I could also empty the trash proactively. At the very bottom, I can also look at my storage, and when I click into storage, I get this helpful view showing me what files are using up most of my storage. Now, one thing that's interesting, you'll notice that PowerPoint files, Word documents, or graphics, they all consume some of my storage space. However, all of the Google file formats, whether it's docs, sheets, or slides, you'll notice that they use up 0 bytes. I've always thought it would be interesting if I simply created presentations with all of my photos. That wouldn't use up any Google Drive space. Now that we've looked at how you can use Google Drive on the web, I also want to show you how you can use Google Drive on your desktop with the Backup and Sync app. Once you install the Backup and Sync app, you'll see a few extra things on your desktop. Here, I have a new folder called Google Drive. When I click on this, this will show me all of the different files that I have in Google Drive, and I can access all of them directly from my desktop using File Explorer. I also have another folder called Marketing Flyers, and I've set this up to sync with Google Drive. You'll see a green check mark here, and this indicates that this folder is also synced in Google Drive. Along with the folders on my desktop, I also have a new icon in my system tray for the Backup and Sync app. When I click on this, I can see all of the files that have synced with Google Drive. When I hover over, I could very quickly share those files just like I could on the web. Up above, I have some quick shortcuts to view all of my Google Drive files in File Explorer. I can also view them on the web or within Google Photos. When I click on the ellipses, let's go down to Preferences to see what we can do there. Within Preferences, I can define what folders that I want to sync with Google Drive. Here earlier, I showed you my Marketing Flyers folder, and there was this green check mark here. Here I've indicated that I want to sync this folder with Google Drive. Over on the left-hand side, I could also click on Google Drive, and here I have it set up so whatever files I have in Google Drive also get synced with my computer. So before I walk through a few different ways how you could get files into Google Drive by dragging and dropping or simply creating on the web, instead I can also have Google Drive do all of that for me, and whatever files I have on my computer will be automatically synced with Google Drive, so I really don't have to do anything to back up my content. Lastly, I want to show you how you could use Google Drive on your phone. Here I have Google Drive open, and it's mainly focused on getting back to and viewing files. Here at the top, I have access to Drive Search, and just like on the web, I can very quickly and easily find whatever file I'm looking for. Here I have the quick access where I see some of the files that I've recently interacted with. Down below, I can view all of my starred files right here, so just another way to get back to the files that I care about. I could also click on Shared With Me, and here I get a quick view of all of the files that have been shared with me. Lastly, if I click on Files, this is the My Drive view where I can see all of my files directly within the app. So this is another nice way to get back to your files regardless of where you are, just using your phone. Alright, well that was a quick look at how you can start using Google Drive. If this video helped you, please give it a thumbs up. To see more videos like this in the future, please hit that subscribe button. If you want to see me cover any other topics in the future, leave a comment down below. Alright, that's all I had for you today. I hope you enjoyed, and I hope to see you next time. Bye.
No sound,
Okay.
Tom. There you go.
He covered a lot of ground in just a few minutes, so I know it was like being inundated, but we still have time, so we could go over stuff and look at it together if you so choose. What's like the first thing that pops out at you for a question would be what? Let's hear it, and we'll go over whatever that is.
My question would be, what kind of security mechanisms are in place with dealing with Google in general? There's a lot. It's been in the news a lot recently, and just kind of curious about your take
Well,
on that.
Yeah, it's going to depend on your tolerance for using Google in the first place.
Yeah.
I mean, I use Google a lot, and I suppose maybe I'm trusting them too much, but I send things that it's been assured to me that it's encrypted. When I send a Google email from somebody to somebody, I should be the only one able to read it, and you're the only one that should be able to read it. So it's going to be what your level of tolerance is for security. There are people who still won't use eBay or Amazon. So there's no convincing them that you're going to be 99.9% assured of security, because, I mean, it's like weekly we hear of a major bank or a major credit card company losing or sharing 500,000 different customers with people that shouldn't have gotten that information. So there's always going to be that risk. It's just whether it's tolerable to you. And if it's not, then you'll have to just maintain what you're comfortable with. As far as I'm concerned, for example, when I use PayPal, I'm pretty sure that it's going to be secured, and I can transfer large amounts of money, or people can transfer large amounts of money to me, down payments on websites and things like that. And they just put it in my PayPal account because it's easy. It's easy to move it out of a bank account into my PayPal account. So I've not reached the threshold of where I'm no longer comfortable with the security of using Google Drive. So I would say use it. I mean, after all, I suppose if you're putting financial data that might ruin you or your family, maybe you wouldn't use Google Drive in that case. But if you're doing a group letter that you typed up for someone else in the business, and how damaging would that be? It just wouldn't. It's just a convenience that you're willing to accept a marginal amount of insecurity, so that you could type a letter, you send it to them, you'll allow them to comment or edit it, and you're comfortable. So it's just a matter of your own comfort level. And any of the other features or...
Well, I use it all the time. I have the backup feature set up on my computer. When I send emails with large attachments, it automatically goes to Google Drive, and so that the person on the other end could just, and it's a shared option, so that they could either view it if it's a proof or download it if it's a final file. Anything over 25 meg has to go up to Google Drive when you send this attachment.
Have you purchased extra space? Or are you still within the 15 gigabytes?
I have 2 terabyte. And I'm about halfway full. I have more than 1 terabyte of uploads.
Think of that. Think of the amount of data that is that you've generated.
Yeah, it's mainly photos that take up all the space. Videos, we share videos like when we're working on a project, so that we could all view a project as it's in transition. And that's a huge amount of the storage is video files. But it's a lot of photos too. Yeah, I exceeded that. I had a paid of 250 meg at one point, and then we just upgraded it to 2 terabyte.
Now these are the storage. You created it on your computer and then uploaded it.
I do a backup. It's so
it's the sync. You're syncing between your computer and iCloud and Google
correct.
Drive.
Certain folders, and then other things we put up there and then share it, or I send it as an attachment.
Yeah.
And then let either people view it or download it or whatever. Edit, I think, is the other option. It's either
Yeah.
view or edit.
Right.
So,
There's the three options: view, edit, or comment.
right. That's on documents. But if I send a photo, it's just view or I forget what the other one is, or edit. I think it's view or edit. I don't think they can comment on it. I think
Okay.
those are the two options.
So you're a mega user of Google Drive.
I am.
Excellent. So have we got enough so that we start using it today? I know we lost Chris, and he probably could benefit from using this, but he had to take off. So I'll check with him and see if there's anything further that we could do to help him get started. Are the rest of us comfortable enough to use Google Drive? Dare I say it, instead of a Microsoft Office?
I actually do a lot of composition in Google's Docs in the word processor, and I use their spreadsheet fairly frequently. And it is a little less responsive occasionally. If I want to jump around a long document, it's not good for long documents. I find that there's a delay when I want to get to the last page of a 13-page document, because I'll just
Sure.
keep all my notes in one long, easily searchable online file. And
My question would be, what's your internet speed that you're
100.
attaining?
110, 100 down,
110?
10 up. But
Okay.
it'll be each time I switch to that tab, if I haven't been there in a while, it takes a while to load the text, and then Control N to jump to the bottom so I can keep composing. Then I got to go back up to the part that I need to copy and paste from. I find it to be a little less responsive than using native run app on my computer, but I still will use it because it makes it very easy for me to copy and put it into a Google email or share it with other people if I wanted them to mark it up for me.
Sure.
And it's automatically there where on any machine I'm on. I don't have to worry about whether I remember to put it on a flash drive or email it to myself. It's just available to me.
Right.
Unless I go to China, in which case all bets are off. I only bring that up because my daughter went to China and couldn't access certain things while she was there. The other thing that Google changed or is changing their Google Photo Backup, which used to be free unlimited photo backup with a little bit of compression. And at the middle of the summer, I think they're going to use your whatever storage you've bought as the limit for additional photo backup. So everything that's previously been uploaded is not counted, but the stuff that you put in since then will be counted. So if you're looking for another way to back up your photos unlimited, you might want to look at what Amazon Prime is offering if you have a Prime account.
Yeah.
Yep.
There's also a thing called Google Workforce that is a sort of business version of what we've been discussing. And it has some more features, which we didn't touch on today, but we might visit that in the near future, because I think this is a very futuristic way of handling your documents. And as long as, like Lee brings up the security aspect, as long as you're willing to accept some amount of compromise, I'm not sure if that's the right word, but because it's not really, there's been very few, at least that I know of. Maybe Jeff knows more because he scours the internet for this stuff, but there's been very few breaches of Google Drive. And for the type of document, at least for me, the type of documents that I put into Google Drive, if somebody got them, it's of no consequence. It's just a convenience for me. So, and this way, like Jeff said, I don't have to copy them to a jump drive or a CD, larger files. I put them on a DVD, for example. Not so much anymore, of course, but I go somewhere and I can just log into my account and I can get whatever downloaded files. If it's an app that I need, I can get it just from my Google Drive.
Tom, if Google got massively breached, I'm not sure that the world would even know. they have such control over what gets found on the internet that news may never get out.
Right.
So that's
Yeah.
that was my other point. I mean, Tom, you answered part of my question, which was the basic security part. And I've pretty much come to the conclusion that I'm relatively okay with that. Whether I can convince my wife of that, who's an information security person, I'm not so sure. But
You're not, and if
my
you
other
think you're
question-
relatively safe, you're not safe.
right. But my
You're
other
wrong.
question,
You are wrong.
okay, great, thanks. That's helpful. My other part, though, is where you were going, Jeff, was the whole part of security within what Google can do with the control of our data or influencing our ability, and that's a different issue. But there's that concern as well.
Yeah. Well, we have to hope that Google maintains a certain amount of objectivity. It may have already moved to an area that we may not, if we knew exactly what they thought, we may not like it. But
Yeah.
I fall back to the fact that if they have my graphics and a letter that I wrote and a spreadsheet that I made for someone, it's really of no consequence. And there's nothing that's going to harm me that's up on my Google Drive. And I think that's how I sleep at night.
Now, how
So-
is Google One different?
Aha. Interesting question. So let's see if we could take a look at what our friend Scott so So as you could see, Google One, so instead of drive.google.com, this one says one.google.com. It is also a membership. Expanded storage, access for to experts, and more, all in a shareable plan. And it says up in the upper left-hand corner, it's from $1.99 a month, but I'm sure Scott has already quadrupled that. And now we're going to look and we're going to see space for everything. This is comfortable on your phone. Your storage is shared across Google Drive, Gmail, and Google Photos. Videos to music to paperwork. So it's much like I mentioned earlier, Google Workforce. This is also what might be considered a pro level. Now, you also notice, keep your photos and videos in full resolution. Now, if you're using Google Photos, they cut down that resolution in order to make it free. You're not allowed to save these giant images that are so crisp and clear that Scott takes with the high-end cameras. Okay. And you'll see it's loaded with features. And it also says safe and secure. To address Lee a little bit, rest easy knowing your important files and memories are safely stored in the cloud. Plus, with a VPN built in to Google One app for Android phones, you can encrypt your online activity for an extra layer of protection. VPN is a virtual private network, so that a thumbnail is just everything is encrypted between you and them, and the rest of the internet can't see you're behind what amounts to a private network, so that you don't have a visible IP address located where you are. It'll put you somewhere else, Atlanta or something. So Here's some more benefits. Now we're talking about $1.99 a month to get you into this level of security and performance. Google Store is included. You have family storage. Experts is one tap away. If you need help with our products and services, our team of experts is here for you. Now, you try to do that with Google Drive and you'll hear crickets. I mean, you're on your own. It's up to us to figure out how to use that. But when you pony up and get to Google One, and then here, for example, this is the level that Scott's at.
The 2
Here on,
terabyte.
yeah, and
$100 a year, roughly.
yeah. So, and you know, for and it's that amount is still you're still not filling that up, or are you getting close?
I'm at right about 1 terabyte right now.
Okay, so you still got a ways to go.
Yeah, I was way above the 200 gig, and then that's, you know, the next jump is 2 terabyte. So
Yeah, man, they should put one in between there.
right, I know that's what I was like, oh man.
Right,
But,
you got yeah.
I think they're matching plans with. I think Apple's got an iCloud storage plan that's similar in sizes. They have the free for 5, and then they've got a 50 gig, and then they've got a 200 gig and a 2 terabyte setting or something like that. I haven't looked lately.
Yeah. So that's Google One is like an upgrade version and more secure version of Google Drive. And as you can see, the Google Drive, that original 15 gigabytes is free. And I'm at 11 gigabytes now. So I'm still, you know, within that free range, so I'm okay. But I suppose to jump to 100 gigabytes, I wouldn't have any problem with going $20. But in any case, that's what Google One can do for you. It gives you a lot more control and a lot more access. Okay, here I think Jeff mentioned this earlier. Photos and videos uploaded in original quality will count towards your Google account storage. Google allows you to use 15 gigabytes of free Google Online storage, and a paying subscription may be required if you exceed this amount, because it's no longer unlimited photos. So that's Google One.
There's another plan, the G Suite plan.
Yes.
So I was just looking up how to get unlimited Google storage. And basically, if you have, I think, 5 G Suite business accounts, which are $12 per account per month, so it's $60 a month. You can get gang that and get unlimited storage.
$60 a month.
Yes, I can share the link.
Well,
Not
tell
that
me
you need
what it is. I'll type it in and we could see it
Well,
right
it's-
now.
Under the G Suite, it says to get unlimited Google Drive storage, you'll need to sign up for a G Suite account rather than using a standard Google account. The basic G Suite account will cost $6 a month, comes with 30 gigs, but the business Google Suite account, which costs $12 a month, gives users 1 terabyte. This is lower than the 2 terabyte plan for regular Google accounts, but if you add 6 users to your business G Suite account, I was wrong, 6 users, the Google will increase the storage for each user from 1 terabyte to unlimited.
Okay, now here is, can I get Google One for my G Suite account? Google One is only available for personal Google accounts, not G Suite.
But you can get a separate G Suite and use that.
If you're currently signed into your G Suite account, you can switch to your personal Google account to upgrade. Interesting. But I think we're getting a little far afield here for us regular folks that
Yeah.
want to type a letter and save it in the cloud.
Yeah.
Now we're like, this is like the nuclear science area of Google Drive.
Through the University of Rochester alumni service, I have a G Suite account that has the unlimited storage, but I haven't started playing with all that storage. But it was free because they just gave it to all the alumni if you ask for one.
Which would normally be $60.
No, it would be they were, because they could just add on accounts for whatever their plan is. They were offering them for free to all the alumni, and I could have that email forwarded to my normal email address.
Wow.
And I could log into that account and use all of the G Suite features if I wanted to go and find out how they're different from the regular Google features, but I haven't. But I thought the unlimited storage might be nice.
Yeah. So, okay. So before we wrap it up, is there any other things we could help with that would allow you to get started using Google Drive, maybe even today? You got to type a letter to the city notifying them that they're not plowing your sidewalk properly?
I have 11 Google Docs calendar, 11 Google service tabs open on my web browser right now, whatever they are, between Google Drive, Google Docs, Google Sheets, Google Calendar, Google Gmail. I use it daily.
Good.
Multiple
Okay,
times.
well, that's how to get started. Just you have to pick one of the documents or upload some that you've already had upload. You've seen how to do that, and just dive in, and you'll see how accommodating it can be to use your Google Drive with the docs, sheets, and you'll get comfortable with it right away. So I think for today, that's it. We'll revisit this again in a few weeks, and we'll look at some of the other ways that we could take advantage of Google Drive, and maybe we'll ask Scott to tell us some of his tips and tricks and how he manages all of that. The folders, you're creating folders and folders within folders to keep stuff squared away. Okay. All right. So if that's it, then thanks for everyone for joining us today. This was a lot of fun, and hopefully that you'll be able to get started and continue to use Google Drive, as we've looked at probably a good way to continue your progress in using your computer to its fullest, and your phone and your Android and all of that. Okay. All right. Thanks so much. We'll see
Thanks,
you again
Tom.
next
That was
week.
helpful.